Hi there, this is Unmesh from PiXimperfect. How you doing? I hope you're having a great day and making it an incredible one. Today we're going to discover 24 hidden Photoshop tricks every pro must know. By the way, as we go through it and have a lot of fun, let us talk about how many of these you already knew. So without any further ado, let's get started. Back in the magical world of Photoshop, and let's say you were removing blemishes, and in this layer, we just have the blemishes removed. And we were using something like the remove tool. You can use whatever you want. That is not the point. And we removed this blemish, everything was going fine. But then once zoomed in, I accidentally pressed the controller command and moved the whole thing. I didn't even realize it, and I continued to remove blemishes here and there. And then when we zoomed out, we noticed, oh my gosh, I have moved everything. So sometimes it can happen while removing blemishes or while dodging and burning, we can accidentally move the entire thing. So how do we prevent that? Have a look at the lock section right here. You can actually lock the movement. Click on this button to activate it. Now, as you are removing blemishes, everything will be going fine. Now, these were not to be removed. Just for an example, even if I hold the controller command and try to move it, it won't let me move it. Even if I select the move tool and try to move it, it won't let me move it unless we click on this to remove the lock. Now, sometimes we are confused about where to take our color grading. Here's a hack to give you unlimited options. Click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose gradient map right here. Let's close it for now. You can choose whatever blend mode you want. You can choose normal with less opacity. You can also choose overlay, soft light, whatever you wish. For this example, we're going to choose soft light. Now, double click on the symbol of the adjustment layer to open up its properties. Single click right here, and inside of the type, choose noise. Now this has way too many colors, so let's increase the smoothness. In other words, decrease the roughness. So let's set it to about 8%. That is fine. And now click on randomize. This gives you lots of options. You can also uncheck restrict colors and experiment. Keep on clicking randomize and stop at what you like. For example, I love this one. And do not forget, whatever you like, you can stop at that, hit OK, and decrease the opacity. Opacity is your best friend. For this example, let's set it to about 50. I like it. Subtle and brilliant. Speaking of opacity as your best friend, how do we control it for different tools? So let's say there's a lot of shine on the nose. I take the patch tool right here. Let's select that. And we selected that area. No worries. And we moved it to this area. Now the shine is gone, but it's absolutely gone. So how do we reduce the effect of the patch tool? You can always go to Edit, Fade, Patch, Selection. It's like undo on a slider. So now you can reduce the effect of it. Maybe I'm going to keep it at about 36. Hit OK. That's a lot better. Control or Command D. Now the Fade command also works with a bunch of other tools. Even if you choose the brush tool, and for example, we make a stroke like this, you can go to Edit, Fade, Brush tool now, and then decrease the opacity. By the way, there's also a shortcut for it. Let's go back. Even if you choose the sharpen tool or the blur tool, let's go with the sharpen tool, and I sharpen this eye. And I've sharpened this way too much. You can also press Ctrl-Shift-F, Command-Shift-F to open up the fade command and just fade the effect of it or reduce the effect of it. Before we move on to our next step, I have a big announcement and I'm super grateful to actually meet you. So I'm heading to Colorado Springs for a 2-day, full-day Photoshop experience with you. 2 full days of hands-on, in-person Photoshop workshop where you learn everything you need to know to start using Photoshop in your professional workflows and get the most of it. Whether you know nothing about Photoshop or you know a lot of it, this is for everyone. And the most important part is we all as creatives are going to have some amazing conversations. On day 1, we will build a strong base, a solid foundation, and my only goal for that day is that by the end of that day, Photoshop will never look intimidating to you. Ever. We'll fix that once and for all. On day 2, we will explore advanced Photoshop techniques, especially for photographers to spice up their work, like compositing, retouching, and color grading. I'd love for you to make it. Please check the link in description for the passes, and I really hope to see you there. Thank you so much. Whenever you drag and drop a lower resolution photo onto the canvas, it doesn't fit to the canvas. So how do we fit this image to the canvas with one click? There is no way to do it in Photoshop, unfortunately, so we wrote a code for it and included it in the free version of PiXimperfect Compositing plugin. You can install it absolutely for free. I'll have the installation instructions in the description. So all you have to do is to go to Arrangement section, and this is a free feature, by the way. Click on this, Adapt to Selection. There you go. It fits to the canvas. And by the way, it is made for fitting to any selection. So if I make a selection like this and click on Adapt to Selection with that layer selected, it fits to that selection we created. If there is no active selection and you click on it, it will fit to the canvas perfectly. Have a look at it. If I press Ctrl or Command T, see, it's fitting perfectly. The next step is for auto zoom. Let's say you're working with a lot of layers, and this is the layer for the headline. If you hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on it, that layer elements will be zoomed. Now, let me zoom out by pressing Ctrl or Command 0 to fit the canvas to the screen. Now, here we have the graphic, right? You want to zoom into the graphic, hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on that layer or group. There you go. It zooms perfectly to that. Now, even inside of graphic, you have flowers. Let's say you want to zoom into this flower graphic, which is the right top. Hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on it. There you go. That one is zoomed in. So now we can work on it more precisely. Now this is a fun one. Let's press Ctrl or Command J to make a duplicate. And before we apply it, let's go to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. Hit OK. Now let's go to Edit, Perspective Warp. You can actually change perspective of things. To make it happen, let's close it first. Let's create a plane and align it according to one side of the box. Let's create another plane for the other side. And you can actually snap it and then just align this one as well. Let's create one more plane. You can also snap it like this, snap this one like this, and then we have the box snapped in. Now let us click on Warp at the top. And now you can change it however you want. So cool, isn't it? And once you're done, you can always hit Enter or Return. By the way, now since this is a smart filter, you can change stuff anytime you want. So double click on Perspective Warp right here. You can reset the whole thing by clicking on this button. If you think that you didn't put the points right, you can go back to Layout and set it properly and then go back to Warp. Also, if you want certain lines to be absolutely straight no matter how you move the points, hold the Shift key, see the yellow activation light, click on it to activate it, click on it and click on this one. Now these three will be straight no matter what you do. So I can move this around here and there, but these three remain straight. Very important tip for portrait retouchers and photographers. I'm not sure if you knew this. Go to Filter, Liquify. Now I'm sure you knew about the face aware Liquify where you can change a lot of things like smile, make him sad, happy. But here's a more fun tool. Click on this button and it lets you do it on the canvas. For example, you want to lose some weight like this. There you go. You want to make the jaw a little more slimmer. There you go. Make him smile a little bit. So you can do it all on canvas. If you feel the photo is too wide angle and the nose has been captured too big, you can make it smaller or larger. You can do everything on the image. Now there's another trick. When you're using the other Liquify tools like this one, the Forward Warp tool, and you have made changes like this, and if you feel you have done too much, you can control the overall effect of it. It's like opacity, but different. Let us scroll down and click on Reconstruct right here. It's like, again, undo on a slider. Here's what it was before. Here's what it is according to what we have done. So you can choose a middle ground because we sometimes tend to do too much. The next step is indispensable, especially if you're into retouching, and that is having two windows for the same document. Just go to Window as expected, Arrange, and choose New Window for whatever document name you have. Let's click on this one. And now you have two windows for the exact same document. It is not a duplicate. It's not a different document. Now let's go to Window, Arrange, and do Up Vertical. Now we have two of them vertically arranged, and for the right hand side, you can just zoom out like this. And for the left hand side, we can just zoom in and do our retouching. Whatever changes we make right here will be replicated right here as well. For example, right now we are doing frequency separation. By the way, if you want to learn how to do frequency separation, there are videos on that. So just above low frequency, I'm going to create a new layer, take the brush and decrease the flow to about 2% and just start painting right here. Let us turn off high frequency. Hold the Alt key or the Option key, click to take a sample and paint gradually. Let's improve this. Now, as we are doing this, you're seeing the updates happening right here. And the secret to good retouching is keeping it as natural as possible. So now when we turn on high frequency, have a look at the difference. Here's the before and here is the after. Have a look at the forehead, before, after. So you get to see the big picture with the smaller image, and it's easier for you to spot which areas we need to work on. You can repeat a transformation automatically with a secret and incredible shortcut. So here we have a flower petal. On top of that, we have the middle of the flower, whatever that is called. Now, if we press Ctrl or Command T for transform, let's bring the anchor point right here. And if we rotate it like this, hit Enter or Return. If you want to repeat this transformation, hold the Ctrl or Command, Shift and press T. There you go. The same transformation we just did will be repeated, and it will be repeated how many ever times you press it. Now, if you want to copy as you repeat, there's another shortcut for it. Let's make a copy of this ellipse layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J, and now let's press Ctrl or Command T and rotate it accordingly again. So we're gonna go up to this point, something like this is fine, hit enter or return. It is the same shortcut, Ctrl or Command, Shift and T, but along with that, we're gonna press Option or Alt. So it's Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and then T. Command, Option, Shift, and then T on a Mac. There you go. It copies it every time it repeats that transformation. Now here we have an image. On top we have a rectangle, and on top of that we have some text. Now let's say you want to punch a hole through this rectangle in the shape of the text so that you can change the text later. You have all the flexibility. So how do we do that? Double click on the right hand side of the text layer, and then in the knockout section, change that to shallow. It is punching a hole, but you cannot see it because the fill opacity is at 100%. Let's decrease it to 0, and there you go. It is punching a hole not only through that rectangle, but also through all of the layers. So how do we make it so that it only punches a hole through this rectangle? Hit OK for now, and put both of these in a group. Select the first one, hold the Ctrl or Command, select the second one, and then press Ctrl or Command G. Now it will only punch a hole through the things that are inside the group. That is all. And now the great part is you can double click on the T, change the text. It is still punching a hole. Oftentimes we have a lot of documents open in Photoshop at the same time. And let's say you have tons of these documents and you want to export all of them as a JPEG. Opening them one by one and exporting each of them as a JPEG will take ages. Instead of that, you can go to File, Scripts, Image Processor. Inside of that, you have the option to choose and use the open files. And then you can select where you want to save these. You can save it in the same location, or you can select a folder. That's up to you. I'm going to save it in the same location. You can export it as a JPEG, also as a PSD, also as a TIFF. I'm going to keep it to JPEG. Here's the quality. You can also resize it if you want. You can also run an action on all of these and then click on Run. It's going to one by one export each one of these open documents. Now when you open that location, you'll have a JPEG folder, and inside of that, you have everything exported as a JPEG. Oftentimes, we come across images that are a bit dull. We can use some secret sliders inside of curves to make them pop. So click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose curves, our favorite thing in Photoshop. And then have a look at these sliders right here. These are not secret yet. However, if you hold the Alt key or the Option key, and then when you drag these sliders, have a look, it will start to show artifacts just when it begins to lose details in those areas. So if I'm holding the Alt key or the Option key and clicking and dragging this slider, at this point, we see artifacts here, which means that we are losing details in that area. And you can stop right there. Similarly, with the left slider, keep holding the Alt key or the Option key, and let's drag it to the right hand side. And I don't mind losing a lot of details here. That's up to your artistic preference. And we're going to stop right here. And just by doing that, here's the before and here is the after. You can also do this per channel. Let's reset that. And now we can go to, for example, red channel. Hold the Alt key or the Option key and do the same thing up to this point, right here. Similarly with the green channel. But why are we doing this manually? You can actually do it automatically. Let's reset everything by clicking on this button. Click on this grid right there and go to Auto Options. And here you can choose Enhance Per Channel Contrast. There we go. It does the exact same thing. Hit OK. If you go to every channel, it has done it perfectly. You have other options too. If you go back to Auto Options, you can also choose Enhance Monochromatic Contrast. You can also choose Enhance Brightness and Contrast. That's up to you. Choose whatever you like, and there you go. Now let's say you were browsing online as I was looking for some duotone presets on Envato Elements. By the way, I highly recommend it. Check out Envato Elements right here. All the details, discounts, everything linked up in the description. Let's say you love these colors and you want these colors in your work. So how do you sample colors from outside of Photoshop? So here we're going to create a gradient map right here. And for the colors, we can directly sample from here. Let's single click right here. For the right hand side, let's click on the right slider, single click on color right here, and begin to sample from inside of Photoshop and continue dragging to outside of Photoshop. And we're going to sample this bright color on him, possibly this color. Hit OK. And for the dark side, click on this slider, click on the color box again, or simply double click on this slider. The color picker will show up. Start sampling from inside of Photoshop and drag it to the outside. We're going to sample this dark color. Hit OK again, and there you have the color copied. Now let's say you masked a subject out. It is not a perfect mask and you need to zoom in and clean it up with the brush tool, just like this. But painting in this direction is a bit more difficult than painting in this direction. You wish you could do it. So how can we rotate our image just temporarily for us to be able to do it with convenience? Just hold the R key. Temporarily, the rotate view tool will show up. Rotate it according to your convenience and then release the R key. It will get you back to the brush tool and you can resume with painting. Now it's easier for you to paint in this direction, and when you're done, you can hold the R key again. At the top, you'll see an option for reset view. Click on that and then release the R key. It will get you back to the brush. It is just like when we are sketching on a piece of paper and we rotate the paper from time to time according to our convenience. This is exactly the same thing. We are back to this image and let's say you removed the blemishes and also did some dodging and burning. By the way, I highly recommend Retouch for Me plugins for automatic dodging and burning. If you want to spend more time shooting and less time editing, that is it. For example, all you have to do is to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift and E. Create a stamp visible layer at the top and then go to Filter, Retouch for Me, and let's say we choose Retouch for Me, Dodge, Burn. By the way, you can try these out absolutely for free. I'll also leave instructions in the description on how to get the free trial. Try it with your images, and if you like it, you can also consider it. Here's a discount code. Also, discount codes are in the description. So as we control the blend, have a look at it. No dodging and burning, full dodging and burning, and more. So we can choose an amount that looks good with this image. I'm going to go with 174. We can choose to have a soft light layer, hit apply. And there you go. It's a soft light layer. Change the blend mode from normal to soft light and have a look at it. Here's the before and here's the after. We still need to fix the color issues. Have a look at the red blotchiness here. So how do we fix that? By the way, there's a Retouch for Me plugin to do that as well if you want to do it automatically. But we need to understand how to do it manually and how it happens. So here's how to do it. You simply create a new layer by clicking on this button. Change its blend mode from normal to color so that it only changes the color of things. Take the brush, decrease the flow to about 20% and then make the brush slightly larger. Hold the Alt key or the Option key, click to take a sample from the good areas and paint over the red blotchy areas. Again, take a sample and paint around. Take a sample and paint around. That's all. Take a sample right here and paint on it. So this looks good to me. Here's the before. See the redness here? Here is the after. That is now gone. Did you know that you could also create a PDF, not PSD, PDF presentation or slideshow with Photoshop? Yes, you heard that right. Let's say you have a bunch of documents open, as you can see right here. Let's go to File, Automate, PDF presentation. Now here you can add the slides that you want using Browse. Click on Browse and import images that you want or documents that you want, or add the open files. All of them are now added. You can choose to have a multi-page document or a presentation. That is up to you. You can also choose a transition if you want. I'm going to keep it none and click on Save. Let's save it as presentation.pdf. Click on Save. Now here you have some additional settings. I'm going to leave it the way it is and click on Save PDF. Now if you look at that folder, here you have a presentation file. Let's open that up and the presentation begins. And hopefully it will change slides. It does change slides. Now let's say in this image, we want to remove this window, but we cannot because there's a perspective in place. No matter how much we try to align it, by choosing the clone stamp tool right here, holding the Alt key or the Option key, clicking to take a sample. Let's say we line it up properly and then we start to paint. It will not match because have a look at the perspective. The lines are not going right. Even if I try to sample from right here and line it up properly, see? It just will not match. Have a look at the lines coming in here and the lines coming in there. So how do we match the perspective as we use the clone stamp tool? Simply create a new layer on top and then go to Filter, Vanishing Point. Let's zoom in and let's create a plane around this window like this. Ensure you match the perspective as you do so. If the plane is red, it means it's not a proper plane and needs tweaking. It should be blue. Of course, it was wrong. So let's adjust it. Now it looks pretty much okay. Let's zoom out and extend it if you want. Also, it's useful if you want to clone other areas too. And let's keep it this much. This is fine. Now you can choose the clone stamp tool right here. And by the way, you can create planes perpendicular too. There's a detailed video on that. You can watch it later. But for this example, now with the clone stamp tool selected, hold the Alt key or the Option key and take a sample. Have a look. It follows the perspective. Just line it up and start painting. See, everything matches and everything happens according to the perspective. There you go. It's done. Hit OK. And now you have that area filled up in this new layer. One of the most important tips in all of Photoshop, no matter what you do. If you press Ctrl or Command T to transform, you all know about the anchor point or the reference point. If you don't see it, you want to make sure that this is checked at the top so that you see it. Now, let's say you want to keep the subject at the same place and you want to scale the overall image. For it, you can bring the anchor point on the subject and then hold the Alt key or the Option key and then scale it. The subject stays at the same place and the image scales from that point. Now, here's another shortcut. Instead of moving anchor points here and there, you can also hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on an area to bring an anchor point there so that you can scale an image from that point or rotate an image from that point. For scaling from that point, you can hold the Alt key or the Option key again and then scale it so that it scales from that point. If you want to rotate from that point, it automatically rotates from the anchor point. You don't have to press anything. Remember the gradient map color grading we learned about? Let's say you did the color grading. Here's the before, here's the after, but you don't like it on the skin. So how do you remove an adjustment mostly from the skin without masking? You double click on the right hand side of the layer and here you'll find blend if. And the secret to blend if is that you can choose different channels. Now since the skin is mostly in the red channel, we're going to choose red and take it away from the bright areas of red. Have a look. It goes away from mostly the skin areas. Now this is very harsh. So hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the slider to break it apart and take it apart like this. There you go. Now it looks much better. So here you have an image and let's say you want to stretch it a little bit and you want to create a Facebook banner or a website banner out of it. So press C for the crop tool. Let's clear everything right here. Hold the Alt key or the Option key and expand it like this. Now if we press Ctrl or Command T and try to stretch it like this, the people are stretched too. Instead of that, first of all, you want to make sure this is not a smart object and then go to Edit, Content Aware Scale. And now when you stretch it, by the way, hold the Shift key and the Alt key to stretch it from the center. And there you go. The people are not being stretched as much. Only the things that don't look fake when they are stretched. Pretty cool, isn't it? Now, sometimes you want to have different versions of things and you want to save it too. For example, I was creating a thumbnail for a previous tutorial and this is the text that I chose. And let's say you want to have this version. You can go to the History panel, click on this button to save it as a snapshot and then maybe change this text to something else. All right. And then save this one as a snapshot. But there's a problem with that. You can go to those moments in history, but once you save this document, all of these snapshots will be deleted. Instead of doing all that, use Layer Comps. Go to Window and choose Layer Comps. Now keep in mind, you can only store a few things in it, like visibility of a layer, whether that layer is turned on or turned off, or the position of something, and a few other things. That's it. But with snapshots, everything is frozen in time. That is one limitation we need to work with Layer Comps. Anyway, click on this plus button and you can choose to store things like visibility and position. And you can have a comment right here. I'm going to name it Best Software. Hit OK. Now let's create one more version. Let's turn it off. Let's turn this one on. Turn on the arrow. Click on the plus right here. Let's name it version 2. OK. Now you have two of these saved. Now we can go to version 1, which is the best software, or we can go to version 2. Now once you save this PSD file and open it back again and go back to Layer Comps, you'll have both the versions here. All the time when we are applying a filter or an adjustment, we always make a copy of the background layer and convert it into a smart object so that whatever filter we apply, we can change the values later. We go to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters all the time. So why don't we create a shortcut for it? Let's go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts at the bottom. And right here from the shortcuts, choose Application Menus. Let's scroll down to Filter. There it is. Let's open that up. And inside of that, we have Convert for Smart Filters. Click on this one to create a shortcut for it. And I'm just going to keep Command-Shift-R. Now, Shift-Command-R is already in use and will be removed from lens correction. I don't even use it. So let's hit Accept. Hit OK. And now Command-Shift-R. You can choose Don't Show Again. You don't have to go to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters, or right-click on it and choose Convert to Smart Object. None of that. All you do, Command-Shift-R. Done. So here we have a seagull and we want it in this photo. So let's select the lasso tool right here and make a selection around it, a rough selection, just like this. Press Ctrl or Command C to copy it, Ctrl or Command V to paste it, and place it right about there. How do we automatically blend it? Select the background layer and press Ctrl or Command J to make a copy of it. Now hold the Ctrl or Command, select both of these layers, go to Edit, Auto Blend Layers. Select Stack Images, make sure both of them are checked, hit OK. Hit OK and it's done. There you go. Amazingly blended. I might take it a step ahead and create a hue saturation adjustment layer. The yellows I think are way too much. So let's go to yellows and we want to add all of these. So click on the plus eyedropper and you want to make sure everything is added like this and maybe decrease the saturation. There you go. It matches more. Now let's say you want to repair the colors here, but sometimes it is just not possible, especially when you have colored lighting. Even if you try it with curves, use the gray point eyedropper, click on an area that should have been gray. Then again, the colors are all weird. Instead of that, when the colors are completely unrecoverable, you can actually recolor it. Create a duplicate of this layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J, and let us not forget Command-Shift-R, Control-Shift-R. We created this shortcut to convert a layer into a smart object in the previous step. Let's go to Filter, Neural Filters, and right in here, Colorize is not just for black and white photos. You can use it in color photos. Scroll down and turn on Colorize. And just like that, have a look at it. It might not be accurate. Hit OK for now. And there are some problems here and there, and you can easily fix it by creating a new layer. Take the brush, change the blend mode of this layer from normal to color. Hold the Alt key or the Option key to take a sample, and paint to fix the colors. That's all. And that's how easy this thing is. So there you go, the 24 tricks every pro must know in Photoshop. How many of these did you already know? Let us talk about it in the comments. And also just another reminder, I'm coming to Colorado Springs for an in-person, hands-on 2-day, full-day Photoshop workshop. And for more details and passes, check the links in the description. I hope this video helped you, and if it did, make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss any other feature tips, tricks, or tutorials. I would like to take this moment to thank all of these nice and amazing people for supporting PiXimperfect on Patreon and helping keep PiXimperfect free for everybody forever. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.
We're up here on cloud nine.